Let's get you hooked. Welcome inside another edition of The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. We appreciate you joining us alongside Mack Brown and Vince Young. I'm Bob Ballou. You can always rate and review us on social media at The Stampede UT, and you can get this podcast anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You can always watch us on YouTube. We have so much to get into as the offseason hits, the transfer portal, NIL, opt out of bowls, going to the NFL draft, not going to the NFL draft, all these things. But before we get to all of that, Vince and Mac know that I like to kind of throw something out at them when we get started on this fun podcast. And I'm gonna throw this one out because I saw this week. So Vince, I know you remember well playing in the Astrodome, and as its UIL state championship weekend coming up at AT&T Stadium this week, which is just one of the coolest things that Texas does. I mean, they'll get 65,000 people to go to these games. But Vince, you guys had one of the most epic, playoff games ever against North Shore. You guys won the game 61-58. I was watching highlights of it this week. Do you know what the score was at the half of that game?
No, at
all. You're going to love this. You ready for this, Mac?
Do you know who's coaching the CE King high school team, running backs?
No.
Albert Hardy.
Oh, you're kidding. Good for Albert.
Albert took the team to the championship. He got one of the top running backs in the country at CE King. And
they knocked off Vandergrift 58-41.
Yes.
In Waco to get to the state title.
Shout out to my guy, Apple Hardy.
Yeah, no question. I saw the same video. And I was so proud of myself watching Vince run up and down the field in that game thinking, how could anybody not think he could play quarterback?
Yeah,
oh, my gosh.
No kidding.
That was no defensive game. That was a basketball score, they call it.
It was. But that's the one you started covering kickoffs. You started playing safety. You said that's when I said, this guy wants to win the game. He doesn't care. He will do anything. But
the only Friday night game that night. Everybody went to that game at the Astrodome. I think we sold more tickets than the Houston Oilers.
and Coach Seals was interviewed and looked so young and good looking
Courtney
and
Lewis.
sharp.
Courtney Lewis.
Courtney Lewis was there with you.
I didn't even know he had 5 touchdowns. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
And then he went down the wrong path.
Yeah, he went to the wrong school, that other school down the street. Whatever.
He went to the other school. So
all right, but do you want to hear what the halftime score was?
Yeah, I can't believe you.
Do you even want to guess, Coach?
I'm going to say it was 35-14.
It was 41-38.
Oh, 41-38.
Why does that score ring a bell? You might remember the national championship game against USC, where the final was 41-30. I love when you go back and see stuff and you're like, oh, maybe it was a little foreshadowing we didn't know was coming.
Yeah, I wish I'd have known that at halftime in L.A.
Right. Right.
I would have felt better.
But Vince, I think you had more than 400 yards. It was a wild game, a 61-58 win over North Shore. I know that's one everyone remembers, but it was fun to see. It's, when you get to state championship weekend, you see all kinds of games in the past, and that one happened to pop up this week. And I was watching the highlights, and it was 41-38 at the half, and I'm like, I know that score.
Boy, watching DeSoto and South Lake Carroll quarterback diving and stopping at the inch line. Oh my gosh!
And then there's 4 seconds left, and kid takes it 99.
Yeah.
Make it 57-41.
And they complaining about college. That we have more teams, and high school teams are playing more games than anybody.
Yeah.
What's this week? This is weeks 6 of the playoffs for them?
They'll play 16 games if you win the state championship.
Wow.
You can go 16-0 is the best record you could have.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty wild what this is becoming, and I think that could lead into a long talk about where playoffs should be in college football and what we should be doing. But instead of that, we want to start by talking about the Texas Longhorns and as they get set for this game against Michigan in the Citrus Bowl. One of the big things that Steve Sarkisian said he was excited about, when you miss the playoff, you get a chance to kind of reset. And it's an opportunity to reset, but it's also an opportunity to really figure out what you want to do with your roster. And I think it's interesting now, and I know both of you guys can speak to this. When you see guys go into the portal, and I think Texas has 8, 9, 10 players in the portal as we're talking about this. I think when you saw that in the past, you would think it's just a disgruntled player that wants to get out. Now there are so many more things involved with, because you're basically paying guys, you're saying, are you either we're going to pay you a certain amount of money to stay here, or you go get your money somewhere else. It's not necessarily a bad thing that guys go into the portal. Vince, when you see some of these names pop into the portal, Leonga Lafau this week, DeAndre Moore decides he's going to leave and turn pro. Does it Does it worry you? Does it bother you? Or are you kind of comfortable now saying, okay, I know that this is they're going a different direction with certain players, and certain players are going to make their own decisions as well?
Well, I mean, just knowing that they've been talking to each other behind the scenes with if it's the head coach, position coach, whoever it may be, that kid was not happy about his about his situation, or what I don't like, these third party people, these agents or whatever, um, to me is doing what's best for them and then tell the kid, it's like confusing to a kid, but at the same time, you want that kid to play, you want that kid to be successful. But I just don't like it. I mean, it's just hard for me as a player to know that when situations happen, the first thing coming to your mind is, I want to leave. The first thing should be coming to your mind, like, how do I get my butt on the field? What did I need to do to kiss Coach Brown's butt to get on the field? So me,
Play
that's the
good.
way I think.
Play good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way I think because I'm kind of old school. So to me, like, that is his job. That is my job for you to take and let me work my butt off in the off season and go take your job. And these kids don't think like that no more. It's all about, okay, I get more money over here and I got a possibility I can play more. So to me, I don't like it, but whatever's best for you as a young man, young lady, do what's best for you. But I don't like this third party people and I don't like the portal, none of that stuff at all.
And coach, there are a couple of like Santana Wilson's a young kid at Texas that's entered the portal. A guy like Wardell Mack, who's played some, maybe had a chance to start next year. You've been through this as a coach, and you've dealt with this type of thing. What are the, how much did your mindset have to change, and how difficult is this to go through this process now as you start an offseason trying to figure out who we can keep, who can't we keep, those type of things as a head coach?
Yeah, it was really, really difficult for me to see great players opt out of a bowl game. And at North Carolina, we weren't good enough to be in the playoff. We weren't in the BCS. We weren't in the playoff. But we played in the Orange Bowl, and our 4 best players opted out. North Carolina never played in the Orange Bowl.
Hmm.
And I was just crushed.
Yeah.
I understand
Right.
that agents are involved, and agents are going to tell them not to play. Then they say you might get hurt. Then they say go play in the Senior Bowl, which is against great players and coaches you don't know, so you're a lot more likely to get hurt there than in a comfortable environment with your team. And I get it. I'd have parents say, "What if it was your son? Would you let him play? What if he gets hurt in the game?" Well, I was on the Michigan podcast earlier this week, and Jake Butts, who is one of their personalities on the podcast, actually played in the Orange Bowl and blew his knee out, and he was a first-round draft choice at tight end. And I said, "Modern day, would you play again?" And he says, "Yes, I'd play for my team."
Right.
So it gets really confusing. We're all about loyalty, all about team. And then they say, well, then Lane Kiffin leaves or the coaches leave. So they're not being loyal. So they're getting in the portal too. I got it. It's all true. It's all facts. That's why I wish the calendar would move back. And it probably wouldn't help with the opt-outs, but it would help with the coaches to get that done. Michigan, all their players right now are talking to their agent about who's going to be the coach and what happens if we don't like the coach. And Michigan's trying to hire a coach before January 2nd. And folks, don't think kids aren't already in the portal mentally. Their agents are talking to other agents and other schools right now. And you say, well, he's not in the portal. Well, he's not. That agent is. That's his job. He is working it. So it was always tough for me. Then do you take great players like the ones that have opted out for Sark? Do you let them go to the bowl game? They're not playing. It hurts your team. Do you take a guy who's a second teamer that maybe wants to play more and his value's better somewhere else? And maybe so. I took 7 guys that were in the portal because they weren't good enough to start for us at North Carolina to the Holiday Bowl to play Oregon. And I said, you got to be in every meeting. You got to be committed to this team, but you helped us get to this bowl game. So if you want to stay here till it's over, get your bowl gifts, get the experience, I got it. It worked. And then I helped them get placed. So it's all different. But now what poor Sark's doing and the staff is they're waiting for kids to come in. Every time one says, Coach, can I see you? You're thinking, oh my gosh, he's leaving. It ain't good, brother. They don't come in just to say hello. or that agent's talking to the collective, and then Steve has to make a decision with the position coaches. There's only so much money, and everybody thinks Texas has got unlimited funds. They really don't. And the other thing Vince is so aware of in that locker room, if I give Vince a lot more money than you, and you two are very similar, fighting for the same position, and Vince tells you how much money he's making, you're disrupted in the locker room.
Yeah, too many distractions.
Too many distractions. So Sark can only go so far. If an offensive guard comes in and says, his agent says, if I don't get this, I'm leaving, Sark can say that we used to put them in buckets. Here's a bucket that's 200 to 400,000. Here's a bucket that's 400 to 800,000. Here's a bucket that's 800 plus. Well, if you're in that 200 to 400,000 and you come in and ask for 500, we're not going to give it to you. And everybody says, why'd he leave? Well, he left because he wanted another 100,000. And that didn't fit really, it's like salary cap.
Sure.
Because we've got to give fair market value for him, what he means to us. That's what we got to pay him. And that's what's happening. Then I would not think that the guys that have opted out will be traveling to the bowl game because they're a distraction. They're not practicing. They're walking around shopping, working out. Can they be on the sideline at the game? I wouldn't let them. I don't know that that was fair or not, but I wouldn't let them because TV's only going to be focused on your best players that aren't playing.
And that's an interesting point because you think about the guys that have given so much to this program that have opted out for the Ethan Burke and Michael Taff and Anthony Hill and those guys. Will they be on the sideline for the game? Is that a good thing if they're there and they're supporting their teammates? Is it not a good thing because they're like you said, they're kind of a distraction?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't let them because it was about this team. What we're seeing with Texas and Michigan, it's kind of like a preseason game for next year. We're going to see a lot of young players. We're going to see Arch coming back. We're going to see Arch now has earned that hype that he got last year. And now next year he can be mentioned for all that stuff. There'll be check marks by all of that. He'll be expected to be in those names that show up for Heisman and early round draft picks and all that stuff. But this game is about the players that have decided to stay and focus and go beat Michigan.
Yeah.
It's not about anything else. There'll be a lot. There's linebackers are all gone.
Think about that. Anthony Hill, Trey Moore, and Leon Galafau are all gone. So you're going to bring in Anthony Smith, who's had a good year, Brad Spence, who's really taken a step. But then behind that, you see Bo Barnes, who's a freshman, and that's where it's going to be interesting. Some of these guys are going to get an opportunity to play that haven't played yet.
Yeah.
And Bo Barnes is going to get some reps. Marshall Landwehr, Brady Sarkeesian, Steve Sun. I mean, they're all part of it.
Well, let's take Bo Barnes. People are going to be watching Bo, and if he plays great in this ball game and he's a freshman and hasn't played very much, then he's going to start getting offers from other people. So there'll be people poaching him. They'll be grading.
I just don't understand. You at the best school. Why? I don't know.
Money.
Vince.
Money.
Goodness gracious.
Vince's frustrations with this are awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. Like, it's a real loyalty frustration.
Vince could have backed out of the national championship game with USC because there were $20+ million on the line. And if he blows his knee out, we've talked about Cedric Benson the year before. Cedric wasn't going to miss that game. And that's what we're missing some now.
Yeah.
I'm not missing the Holiday Bowl. I'm not missing the Alamo Bowl.
No.
I'm playing, coach.
Yeah.
You're going to have to like VY. You're going to be like VY or you need to come out of the game. I'm like, no, coach.
Well, we talked about Ricky Williams, the same thing. I want to play against Mississippi State. Well, you're a first-round pick. I don't care. I like to play.
You're right. I love the game. I love football.
I want to play in the All-Star game, college All-Star game. Why you want to play, Ricky? Because I like the game. I can get hurt on the streets.
Right.
So
let me ask you something on that, because you mentioned Jake Butt, too, as another example of somebody who blew out his knee, and he says he would go back and he'd still play. Would his agent let him? I think that's where, because you've said this about your guys at North Carolina, they wanted to play. You had guys that wanted to play, and they not necessarily just their agent, but a lot of people around them are saying you cannot play in this game.
I think it depends on parents.
Yeah,
that's what, if the agent gets to the parents, and if I don't have any money, and I can make a lot, and there is some risk if I play that I'm not going to be able to get drafted, I got it. It's really confusing to me. But I heard, I think it was Anderson at Alabama a few years ago, Vince, and they were playing in the Sugar Bowl. They weren't in the playoffs. They're playing the Sugar Bowl, and they said, are you going to play? And he said, absolutely. How can I be captain and tell these guys it's about team, and I'm going to fight my guts off for you all year and then not play? And that's where it's confusing. It was one of the hardest things for me because at North Carolina, we got to a bowl every year. And after the first year, we didn't have anybody opt out the first year because they hadn't been to a bowl in like 5 years. And then for 5 straight years, the best players opted out. And and we didn't win any of the games. We got close on some, but we didn't win any because we didn't have our best players. So I started thinking, like Sark's got to think, this is about next year. It's a spring game. It's a preseason game. I got to look at Bo. I got to look at these guys that are
Some
out
of those
there
freshman
now.
wide receivers maybe that step in for DeAndre Moore.
Well, the secondary that played against Vanderbilt, they're going to be playing in this game.
Yeah.
You know, Littleton's a leader now.
Yeah.
He was a puppy. He was a freshman.
So he had a good year.
He had a good year. So, but the great thing is it gives Sark and the staff an evaluation of everybody on the team. Okay, I know who's gone. If this didn't happen till late January after the portal, I wouldn't know what I got to replace.
And you'd have to make decisions real quick.
Yeah, I know right now we got to replace linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we're thin. So they are looking for linebackers today. That's what they're doing in the portal. And this will also show them an evaluation of some of the young ones under pressure. How good are they? Now, fans get mad if you lose the game, but it does matter. But evaluation of players, roster management over the next month matters more than winning or losing in the Michigan
Almost
game.
like this is taking the place of the spring game in
It
some
is.
ways. It's like they're not going to have a spring game. This is kind of your spring game and see what you have in some of these kids.
Everybody always wanted a spring game against somebody else. Well, we got one. That's what we got.
Now.
It is
good
here.
School. I mean, to me, it's like this is a chemistry boost, you know, to know who your guys that you're going into next year with. You know, I understand everything about, you know, guys opting out, going to the NFL, whatever it may be. But to me, this is an opportunity to travel with your brother, your coach, your family, go to Orlando, to go have a good time, build chemistry. And, you know, that's the fun part about to me about college, that you got an opportunity to hang out with your guys and travel and enjoy something that we didn't finish the year like we wanted to, but we did actually finish the year, you know, on the good side. And to have a bowl game, to go enjoy some festivities with my teammates, go to Universal Studios, Disney World, you know, all these things are awesome to me, um, because this is why you do play the game. It's because of the chemistry that you have with your teammates, and you got one more game to hang out with your guys and play against another school that has a lot of history and tradition as well. So
And
that's how I look at it.
And those guys you hung out with, your friends today.
Still to this day, my brother.
All of them.
All of
I
them.
mean, they're best friends. And
it was 8 or 9 of us, in Vegas hanging out for Michael Huff going into the Hall of Fame, and just to see all of us there still supporting him with our family, with our kids, laughing, telling stories about the locker room and things like that on the golf course. Uh, a couple guys
lies
shanked
about
some
me.
balls.
I wish
shanked
I'd
some
been
balls,
there.
Coach.
I didn't say that, Vince. No, I didn't do that.
They shanked
That's
some
what
balls
you
and hit some
heard. That's
people's
not what I
houses.
said. I know you didn't shank any.
No.
No.
You know, in Vegas, you got to use your irons out there.
Yeah. But I do think, Bob, that fans should not get mad at the guys that are opting out because it's not totally their decision either. People say it is, it's not. And I had players sit and cry in my office that they wanted to play and they couldn't. And I felt so sorry for them, but it's just real. It's a very tough situation, a delicate situation. Now, this will sound stupid too, but I think this situation for Sark, playing Michigan, revamping the roster is better than losing in the first round of the playoff.
Yeah.
And Vince said, you have a wonderful week to build memories with your team. He's practicing right now for spring practice. They've got those young ones, and they're hitting, they're scrimmaging. The older ones are not, but they're doing some Michigan stuff. Then they're doing some next year stuff. They're already working on Ohio State for that second game next year. Yeah. And then you have to think about, if you lose, you don't have a bowl experience in the playoffs. You go, it's like an away game or a home game. You play the game and go to the next one. If not, you're through. So really and truly, if you're not going to win the national championship, this is better for next year than going to Oregon and losing in the
And Coach
first
Brown
round.
did a great job of, giving us that message. Like as your leader, he made it for you to understand why we doing this, why are we playing this game, and I'm pretty sure Coach Stark did the same thing. But in the same time, like you have to start the week off like, hey guys, we had a really good year, but this is us to have another game to have fun with your brothers, and this means something as well. And Coach did a great job of you know putting that in us so you have guys to understand like this is just not just no walkthrough practice. We actually, or like Coach said, preparing for Michigan, but also checking out guys who gonna be able to play next year as well too. So
And that was one of the things Sark said. They didn't really get a bowl experience the last 2 years
No.
because they
right.
were focusing on the semifinal, focusing on the first round and then the quarterfinal, and this will be fun. You guys got to go to Disneyland and experience that
We
a
did.
couple times, so that's
We had a good time.
that stuff's always fun. SeaWorld, when you go to the Holiday Bowl, all those things, you get those moments with your teammates.
Well, Bob,
Those are always fun.
and excuse me, but the other thing, and this is tough for the coach. All right, those guys that are opting out and not playing, we got a VIP locker room for them, but I asked them to take their stuff out of the locker room and put it in another locker room so they could go work out and do what they wanted. But again, it was a negative to have guys that weren't going to play sitting there talking to guys that were playing. And so but also you don't want to hurt the feelings of the guys that have been so good for you. This is a very difficult time for head coaches because there's a lot of decisions you have to make, and none of them are, or a lot of them are not what you feel good about. You just feel like it's best for your program.
It's going to be an interesting time for Texas. Of course, one of the rooms that we've talked a lot about is the running back room and what's going to happen there. CJ Baxter entered the portal.
New coach,
as Chad Scott is dismissed, and they get Jabbar Jalouk coming in from Florida. What will that do for possibly other guys that want to come in and play at Texas? We'll find out. So all those things will be interesting. I do want to get your thoughts on this 2025 season as you look back at it, Vince. What will you remember most? What kind of, on a scale on a scale of 1 to 10, how much, what did you end up taking out of this season? Were you utterly disappointed and then happy with the growth? Did the number 1 ranking mean anything to you at the beginning of the year? How do you kind of view this year as you look at this Texas team?
I mean, it's kind of hard. I'm biased. It's kind of hard to ask me that because I bleed orange. So to me, in my mind, them guys did a great job, handling the situations that the adversity, the stuff that came in front of them. I feel like they did the best that they could, and I feel like Arch, man, congrats. I'm proud of him because I don't think any other quarterback can handle that situation the way he handled it. And again, Colt McCoy, myself, Chance Mock, Chris Sims, Applewhite, the list goes on. They can tell you it's not easy playing quarterback at the University of Texas. And I really feel like Arch did a really good job of handling the pressure and continue to go forward instead of backwards. Any guy could have probably got benched, probably throw their helmet on the sideline. This guy was like, nah, I'm finna fight through this with my teammates and we're gonna get through this together. And they did. And, you know, Simmons said that in the media one day. He was like, we in this together. We win together, we lose together, we fight together. And I love that these guys did not, you know, go at it against each other. So to me, I feel like they like a 7 on a scale from 1 to 10.
Okay.
And I was really, really proud of them. Especially the way they handled those overtime games, the way that they handled beating that other school down the street. Oh my God, thank you, Jesus, they beat A&M. They took care of each other, and the only reason because that all these things happened for them, to me, that they didn't point fingers at each other. They stayed together and finished the season strong. So I'm very proud of them. I give them a 7 for the
Some really
season.
good lessons as they go into 2026. And
Yeah.
to Vince's point, 6-0 against Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M the last 3 years, all double-digit wins. So you got to love that. Something to definitely hang your hat on. How about you, Coach? What when you really look at and kind of dissect this Texas season, what are some of the positives and negatives, and what kind of grade would you give them on a or number would you give them on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah. Well, first, it's a curse to be rated number one in preseason when you're not that good. And that was tough because they didn't ask to be number one. They didn't ask to be rated number one, and they weren't too many young players, too many new things, and then opening up with Ohio State, defending national champ on the road. So that was a curse. It just it didn't start well. Then there's 3 or 4 games in there that are scrimmages that you're going to win, but it's hard to get motivated for them, and you don't look really good, and you could get somebody hurt, and it didn't prepare them for Florida because you need good competition in there as well, and sometimes you play those teams that aren't as good, and you play a lot of young guys, but you don't get a lot better, and that hurts you. You need to get better each week as you go through. I told Steve when you beat Arkansas, Oklahoma, and A&M around here, it gives you a lot of breathing room. And it does. If you're not going to win all the games, those 3 really help because all the older people, for sure, they grew up hating those 3. So that's just part of it as you go through. Vince said it, and I can't say it any better. Really proud of Arch. Not many young people could have handled what he handled, and he's tough. He might smile but he's competitive and he's tough and he's got great family around him. Not many people could have taken the negative that people became around him early and him turned it into a positive at the end of the year. So good for him.
And after Kentucky, it could have gone a different direction.
Could have gone really
really
bad.
could have.
It could have,
Yeah.
and he had to sit and he's not stupid. He's got social media.
Mhm.
He hears all those hard things. Cooper and Mom sit in the stands. They hear all that stuff, and that family is tough as nails.
Mhm.
They may smile and be classy, but they're tough and they compete now.
Mhm.
Just said so. What I always said about Vince, he competed his butt off all the time, and you say something bad about him, I was always hoping somebody'd say something bad about him, stir him up. And I'd always find something to tell him that somebody said something about him.
He'll post it in the locker room
even
somewhere.
if they didn't.
Yeah, no, right on Vince's locker. Oh, I don't know if you saw that or not, Vince, but it's right in front of you. Look at what disappointed in the offensive line, disappointed in the running game. Steve's had 1,000-yard rusher just about every year.
Every year, yeah.
And you
That's
don't
the
have
first
that
one.
this year, so that keeps you from getting where you want to go. Really excited about Niblet and special teams. That change games, and that's hard to do. Really excited about the defense. Had some injuries, developed some depth. That'll help against Michigan. So I felt like what they did is took a negative at the beginning and turned it into a positive at the end. And that's what you do. You need to finish better than you started, and that should give them a lot of momentum going into next year. It's really hard when you lose some great players and you have new talented young ones coming in. It doesn't mean they're ready to play. So everybody said these highly recruited offensive linemen are all going to be ready to play. It's hard to be a young offensive lineman and be ready to play. You got to be knocked around some. You got to get nasty and get in the dirt, and these guys just weren't ready to do all that at this time. Then they had injuries at wide receiver. Then they had injuries at running back, and then they had injuries in the offensive line. So it just was a year where it seemed like it was hard to get an identity because you didn't know who was going to be playing. So finally, they got their identity about Vanderbilt offensively, stayed good on defense, then got some injuries and gave up some points. But ended up, I thought they coached them about as hard and as well as they could. And the other thing, a lot of teams could have fallen apart. The culture's good of this team, like Vince said, because they didn't point fingers, and they could have. When you're number one at this place and you get so much hype and it doesn't work as well as you want to, people can start turning and ducking, and these young people hung in there. And I think that's a positive for Sark because he kept talking about we're close, we're better. He never turned on them as well.
And that's a prime example of Kansas City Chiefs. They've been kicking butt for a long time, and to hear that they got negative energy on the sideline in the team, that shows you what Texas could have been if they had that. And to hear a team that's been kicking butt for a while, to hear that they got negative energy on the sideline and in the locker room, that destroys your team. And I'm glad that Texas And the leaders and Coach Stark and the guys, when they was going through the adversity and the whole world talking about them, they didn't point fingers at each other. They stayed to focus on the ultimate goal is let's fix this all together. And I enjoy watching that as a UT alum, seeing that these guys are just fighting through their adversity.
Yeah, Drake May was our quarterback at North Carolina for 2 years. He's done a great job with the New England Patriots. He may be Rookie of the Year or NFL Most Valuable Player this year. They had a 24-7 lead Sunday over the Bills and got beat. And they got beat right in the end. And the first thing he said at the podium, and I was so proud of him afterwards, you can't let one loss beat you twice. And that's what Texas did such a great job of. They didn't, I had trouble with that. I said it, but it would eat me up so much. It was hard for me to get back and go, man. I was still beating myself up, and you can't do that. I didn't see Sark do that. I didn't see Drake do that. I didn't see these Texas players do that. And I think that's a real credit to Sark and the staff.
Yeah, no question. They fought through a lot of adversity. I thought Jared Elliott said it best when they lost to Wisconsin in the Elite Eight this week, and he said some of your greatest successes come from failing. And I think that's a great lesson for the volleyball team, but certainly for this Texas team going through the adversity they went through this year, it's really going to help them as they move into 2026. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got still a ton to get into with this Texas team. The schedule came out for the SEC next year. We'll talk about some of the fun road trips they're going to take, and also it's a weird schedule. Again, it's just a very odd schedule for
Texas. Who makes these schedules,
I don't know. The SEC must have something. No, we're not doing vendettas yet. We'll get into that. We'll get into the Heisman Trophy as well.
Yet.
What that we're not going to get into that yet. We can save a little bit of that.
Meaning we might.
Fernando Mendoza wins the Heisman Trophy. I want to get Vince's thoughts on what it's like sitting there and how incredible that whole weekend is. So we'll get into a little Heisman Trophy, and then of course Sharon Moore and what's happening at Michigan, some of the fallout from that. So we're going to get into all that stuff as we come back. This is The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. We're back after this. College football not feeling as juicy as it once did? Let me put you onto something that'll shake up your Saturday and every other day of the week. Because now that Wendy's has crispy chicken tendies and a powerhouse lineup of new sauces, it's time you transferred to the hottest team in the league.
That's right, Team Tendies. Wendy's Tendies. They're making their undeniable rookie season one for the books. Enjoy first-string flavor from some five-star recruits. Rep your own new favorite team everywhere you go, but make sure to cheer with your mouth closed.
Take it to the end zone of savory sauces like honey barbecue, creamy ranch, and the new Wendy's signature sauce to experience a total taste bud blitz of flavor. It's time to join a team that won't upset you with an upset. Taste the phenom that's gracing the gridiron with its juicy, crispy, and tendery tendencies.
Don't fumble the bag. Commit to Team Tendies and call the most delicious plays in the playbook. All right, huddle up. Tendies on three. Tendies on three. 1, 2, 3. Tendies. Let's do this.
Wendy's Chicken Tendies, now at participating U.S. Wendy's. From Longhorns to startups, Branded Bills has you covered. Whether you're repping burnt orange pride or building a brand of your own, nothing tells your story like a custom hat. Branded Bills is a proud sponsor of Texas Athletics with licensed Longhorn headwear that holds up from the tailgate to the stadium and through the celebration.
Bob, don't forget the sidelines and the golf course, too.
You know it, Coach. You have to look good to play good.
But Branded Bills doesn't stop there. They specialize in custom headwear that helps teams, companies, and communities showcase who they are with premium fit, finish, and style.
So whether you're a Longhorn fan, a business founder, or just someone who wants to stand out, check out Branded Bills just like mine.
Explore their officially licensed UT collection or design your own custom hat built just for you. Branded Bills, from Longhorns to startups, licensed pride, custom style. Welcome back to The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. We always appreciate you joining us. Really good first segment talking about Texas football and everything that goes into what this reconstruction of the roster and everything else this offseason is going to look like. And then, of course, as they get set for the Citrus Bowl against Michigan. Alongside Vince Young and Mack Brown, I'm Bob Ballou. You can always rate and review us anywhere you get your podcast on the Stampede UT, at the Stampede UT, anywhere on social media, and then anywhere you want to listen to this podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast, you can find us there. All right, let's talk Heisman Trophy. Coach, Vince, you guys were at the ceremony together. I know it was disappointing that night. Obviously led to some great things against USC with a little motivation behind it. Fernando Mendoza wins the Heisman Trophy this year. Very interesting year for the Heisman. There wasn't a really dynamic, this guy has to win the Heisman Trophy this year, but Fernando Mendoza wins it. I have a vote, and I went Fernando Mendoza, Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame, and Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech. I had third. I thought, Diego Pavia had a fantastic year. I think any of those guys that were in that mix, Julian Sain obviously as well at Ohio State, any of those five guys I thought were special players this year, and they all had good seasons. I want to get your thought on the Heisman Trophy. Vince, especially for you, when you look back on it 20 years ago, what does it mean to you now to have been at that ceremony? I know it was a horrible disappointment in the moment, but what does it mean to have been at the Heisman Trophy and be that special a player in college football?
Some off camera stories, Coach.
yeah. I was sitting
camera,
here. I was sitting here trying to figure out what I can say too, Vince.
You can say anything you want. It's 20 years later. Everybody wants to hear the stories.
That's brought back.
I saw Coach got a little smirk on his face when you was saying it. I was like, let me start this conversation off right. No, but I honestly can say that. First of all, it was the first time for me and my mom and my family to travel to New York, and brought my whole family, Candace, and everyone. My sisters. I mean, we had a really good time. I even hit my grandmother in the back with a snowball. We played in the snow.
Dangerous.
We enjoyed that moment. The Heisman, man. That was a tough one for me because I really wanted to bring that back to Austin, Texas, because of the Earl Campbell and Ricky Williams, and it's been a while since we had an opportunity to bring that trophy back. And to me, the Heisman Trophy is not an individual's trophy; is more of a team to me. And I really feel like we had a good year that year. I mean, an outstanding year that year, and I thought that I had an opportunity, a chance to win that thing, and got some information that don't even worry about that. But overall, outstanding award. I can honestly say, even though I did lose it to another great player, Reggie Bush, it motivated me for the national championship game. So to see these guys, Mendoza, Coach Brown's boy, that's been underdog all year.
He's 2 of my 4 wins, I think.
It was great for him, man, for him to lead a team like that. It's not easy to be it's not easy to be undefeated the whole year, especially to me, Indiana to me is a basketball school, and to see them having a really good football team and performing the way they perform, he deserved it. I had him and Diego. That was my two guys that I thought, especially Diego, from his history, from where he started to where he's at to change that whole program, Vanderbilt, to what it is today. I had those two guys. So I know that was a great moment for both of them because of the fact that is the Heisman is one of the biggest awards that you can get. And it's just to show you what type of person that you are individually, to be not only just as a football player, but just overall as a kid. That's a lot of great recognition. So it's good for Mendoza to get that trophy, and he deserves it.
And the people who were knocking him were saying, well, he didn't have a whole lot of yards passing. He had 39 touchdowns, which was a pretty incredible year, and they went 13-0 and number 1 team in the country. Coach, what are your thoughts in as you reflect back 20 years ago to that night with Vince?
Yeah, it gets confusing again, kind of like the 12-team playoff. Is it the best player on the best team? Is it the guy who made such a difference for that team to give them some chance? Ricky Williams was on an 8-9 win team, but he was the best player in the country. Vince, to me, voters, a lot of them are emotional and they are reactionary. So we played A&M and didn't play very good, and Reggie played Fresno State and went off. So that they vote right after that. I asked, why don't you wait till after the bowl games? Why don't you wait till after the national championship to vote, and you'll have a better idea who the best player in the country is, because Vince would have won it if it'd been after the national championship game. And they said, well, when we started this many years ago, we didn't include the bowl games. We didn't include the national championship. So it would be unfair to all those guys if we voted differently now. And then I had been at the Heisman with Ricky. They were around us all the time. They sucked up to us. They weren't doing that with Vince and his family. They were all with Reggie. So I told Vince right before, I said, I don't think we're going to win. There's going to be a press conference right afterwards. You get ready to lose. And if you win, it's easy. But that is hard to have a press conference, as important as this is, right after you see them stand up there and everybody celebrate somebody else right in front of you. And he said, "No, we got it. We're good.
Yeah.
We're going
John
win." I said,
Bianco had
"No,
to go find me for a second, though.
yeah, no." But Vince handled it with all class. That's when he had that unbelievable call to our whole team sitting in the team room here in Austin, and he said, "Okay, guys, game on for SC. Just get ready to go." And just handled the whole thing with class. This year, as I looked at it, again, reactionary voters, Mendoza just beat Ohio State. As Vince said, they're undefeated at a school that's not a brand football school. He played really, really well. His family is an unbelievable story. Mom's sick in a wheelchair. He didn't get offered scholarships. He was going to Yale. Then he went to Cal. Then he transferred to Indiana. And he's played really well. To me, all 3-4 guys that are up there every year are winners. Vince had Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart. I mean, it's three of the best players to ever play college football. How do you get so you pick? I mean, they're the best to ever play.
And I think that was an important point in all of this. I don't think y'all were ever knocking Reggie. There was never like Reggie was an unbelievable player that year.
Great player.
Yeah,
he was a great player.
There's a big difference in some of that and other Heisman trophies.
And Matt had already won a Heisman.
Right.
So when you look at it, but the performance that Vince had that year, to me, deserved it was a Heisman Trophy performance. Even if they gave it to Reggie, he did enough to win the Heisman Trophy. He checked every box.
Yeah.
They just happened to have another great player on the other team. This year, it was closer, but I did think, as I looked at it, and I sat and watched the ceremony, reflecting on being there with Colt and being there with Vince and being there with Ricky. I reflected on all of the times that I'd been there, thinking about which one of these young guys should win it. And everybody that's there's they've got some things that are in their favor. Pavia has done an unbelievable job.
Oh yeah,
I hated that he said some things afterwards he regretted, and I get it. You're crushed, and I sat there with Vince. I sat there with Colt. So I mean, I know how it feels to be sitting there and watching somebody you love not win something you felt like that they deserved, and it was taken away from them. But Vince handled it so well. Colt handled it so well. And Diego's had to come back now and apologize for some of the things he did. And he and his brother's a little crazy anyway. They're fun crazy, but that's not the time or the place, because the sad thing for the year he's had and being a runner up to Mendoza in the Heisman, a lot of people are going to remember what he said afterwards instead of, and how he acted that night instead of all the successful things he's had. So shout out to Vince and Colt for, in a moment where it wasn't what we all wanted or thought it should be, they handled it with a class that you want it handled with.
Let me poke that a little bit. Vince, you sure you don't want to tell any of those off-the-record stories from that night?
Yeah, are we still recording?
I just told one right there. So I was sitting right behind Vince, and I was had my hand on his shoulder.
Hey,
okay, Vince,
I was pissed,
don't
boy.
smack Reggie.
I was pissed, boy. Longhorn Bevo was really upset.
No, Vince was not a happy camper.
Yeah,
but
really wanted
understandably,
to bring that trophy home.
But how many people can? I didn't always do a good job of it. How many people can regroup, get your composure, have all those cameras right in your face, and say, "Congratulations, Reggie, good for you." I mean, he just did an amazing job. I'm as proud of him as so many times. I've never been more proud than at that moment.
Yeah.
Well, having a great mentor and great guy around you, like Coach Brown and John around you, like they have been through so much situations, and the way they carry themselves, the way they handle themselves. And Coach and John was just like, hey, I know how you feel, but right now this is very important. Give all respect to, Reggie. He won it fair and square. And in my mind, I'm crying. I had to wipe my tears up and upset. But in the same time, I understood what coaching him was wanting me to do. It's not about me right now. It's about our whole entire team and our university represent us the right way. And who does it the best way is Coach Brown always, even though we want to say some things, but we got to carry ourselves in the right way. And our leader does it all the time. So when he told me that, I had to regroup and make sure that, when I get on this camera, make sure I'm representing not only just myself, but my whole entire team. So,
and your family and your
and my
grandma.
family.
And
Yeah.
Vince just said it. John Bianco's the best at
Yeah,
being
John.
a director of communications in the country. Been here a long time, nearly 30 years. But John cares about these players and this place so much.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to get Vince off and say, okay, I'm mad too. I got it. But here's what we got to say. Take a deep breath. He used to tell me, I'd say, how are you feeling? I'd say, not worth a damn. And he said, okay, go over there and get a glass of water. Take a deep breath. Let's settle down a little bit before you go in there and get mad at somebody and get hot. But you just have an awful moment and there's a camera in your face.
Mhm.
And everybody says, just like with Diego, well, that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. Well, how many of you sat in that situation?
Right.
How many of you have had something how many people get to win a Heisman Trophy? How many people have that taken away from them at a moment and then say, what do you think? Oh, well, it's great. Good. I'm happy. I'm excited. No,
Yeah.
I am mad. I'm crushed. I'm crying, and I'm trying to
Hurts.
handle this thing right.
It
So
hurts.
help me, man.
You hate losing.
You hate
Yeah,
losing. That's it. And like Vince said, he lost for his grandmother. He lost for his mother. He lost for his sister. He lost for Texas. He lost for the state of Texas. He lost for the Big 12 at that time. He lost for all of us, and he won for all of us. But in his mind, he lost for all of us, and that's why he's such a great competitor and one of the best to ever do it.
And as we always talk about, that loss did turn into something positive as you used a little bit of that motivation.
It did. People said, do you think Vince losing the Heisman won the national championship? And I said, no, I'd rather him win the Heisman and win the national championship because this sucker was going to be motivated for the national championship anyway. He'd have found some other reason to be motivated, but he would have been. And he turned it into a national championship. Texas has been playing 100 and something years, and there's 4. So he's part of a legacy at this university that's unmatched, and that's really cool. And very few people like Diego. In fact, you should call him, Vince, and tell him being second in the Heisman's really cool.
Don't worry, I already did. I already
good.
texted him.
Very few people get to go to New York and be seen as the best players in the country, and that's really cool.
Especially where he came from. So
yeah.
Right.
Oh gosh.
Right.
No, his story, all those stories are great,
mm-hmm.
and all the players are great, and because Sayan didn't play as well against Indiana, he was out. That's the way it is. If Julian had killed it and beaten Indiana, he might have won the Heisman.
Right.
That's just the way the reactionary voters are at that point, and it's a difficult thing. I just wish it was done again at the end of the year, but they're not going to change it. So,
well, and then maybe people be reactionary to just who was the best player in the national championship game, and then you're getting a vote that way. I mean, there's probably never an ideal way to do it, but to your point, you do get the whole season at least in that point.
And Vince would have won. That's all I cared about.
Here, did you heard it right here on the Stampede, baby?
Yes,
you heard it right here.
But let me say this too: when it was taken away from Reggie, and without getting into too much here, they asked Vince if he would take it, and he said no. And that's only Vince would do that.
Why Vince? Why didn't you want to take it?
Well, Reggie won it, so the Heisman went to Reggie that year, and fair and square. And I definitely wanted to bring that home to Austin, Texas, baby. But but Reggie won it fair and square. And like you said, man, he's an unbelievable player, period. I got so much respect for Reggie Bush. So when they did call, I'm like, nah. To me, in my mind, the Heisman Trophy was Reggie Bush that year. So that's why I was like, nah, I don't want it.
And Vince is better than I am. I think I told Vince I'd take it.
Yeah, because I called Coach. I was
that.
like, Coach, do you think I should?
And I said, I would, man, take it. It's a Heisman Trophy. And he said, I didn't win it. And then Reggie has been very gracious and come back and said, Vince Young is such a good person. Yeah. He could have taken my Heisman and he wouldn't do it. So Good again for Vince. He's better than I am.
And then they'd have to rip it away from Vince again when they decide to give it back to Reggie. So it's
no, we weren't giving it back up.
We're not giving it back.
We're not giving it back.
We putting that thing over there at the school over there.
Yep, we would have locked it up pretty good.
All right, so since we talked last week on this podcast, that we obviously had the unfortunate, terrible news out of Ann Arbor with Sharon Moore, his firing and then subsequent arrest. After that, I don't even, Coach, how does that impact a team? I mean, when Michigan's trying to prepare for this game now and what they've gone, you put a lot on the line for your coach, and you have a special relationship with your coach. When you do all that and then you see something like this happen, how does a kid respond? What do you do as a coaching staff?
It's the same thing at Ole Miss. It's the same thing at a lot of different places. When you lose your coach, regardless of the reason you lose it, you're angry at the coach. You're disappointed. You're angry. There's a lot of different emotions. But the Biff Poggi is the interim coach. He was at Charlotte last year when we played them. He was the interim coach when Sharon did not get to. He was suspended at the first of the year, so he's already done this. He's coached this team before. He was a close friend of Jim Harbaugh's and a high school coach out of Maryland area. So he's already been through this process, talking about a suspended coach. And now, as we've talked about, all the kids are talking to their agent. They're talking to their families. Ward Manuel's the athletics director. I think they've got an interim president. So they're trying to hire a coach in a very difficult hiring time before January 2nd, because that's when the portal opens.
Right.
Now, like we said, the portal's already open. It's just not publicly open.
Right.
So the kids are talking to their agents. But the other thing is they need to play. If they're going to play in the game, and it looks like most of them are, then they need to beat Texas. They need to play good in this game. So young people are different now than when I was raised, because they're used to distractions. We talked about that the other day. They're on social media. There's breaking news every day. I mean, 10 or 20 breaking news stories every day. And I would have said, oh, my gosh, that changes my life. They say, I'll handle it and just move on, because that's the life they live. They've been raised with this. So I think some of them are saying, like Texas, if Sark had left today, some guys would say, I love Texas. I'm staying here. This is my life's dream, was to be at Texas. Michael Tapp would stay here. Ethan Burke would
Parker
stay
Livingston
here.
would stay here.
Yeah. So when you're looking at those guys, there's those guys at Michigan. Texas and Michigan are the same place. They're classy universities. They're two of the winningest programs in the history of college football. I hear Bo Schembecker's voice right now when he was a mentor of mine. Lloyd Carr coached in the game against Vince and I. I love Lloyd Carr, and to see his grandson at Notre Dame's been fun. But Michigan is a classy place that's having a tough time right now. They will come out of it. And I do think all of the talk about the kids, I think when you're at Michigan and you're playing Texas, you're going to play hard. So those guys that go to Orlando are going to play hard. And Vince, what do you think? They love playing. If they were playing a non-brand school, they might be flat.
Yeah.
But even now, you're also trying to raise your value to the new coach that comes into Michigan. You're trying to raise your value to the schools that you're talking to. It's all about value and money. So this game's getting more like the NFL every day.
Yeah. And I hated that situation happened. My nephew is there, a freshman, DB, Jaden Sanders. His uncle and was my best man in my wedding. And to see him make a decision to go to Michigan to be with that coach and to see the situation, I know it's a tough time, because he really wanted to go to Texas, but he had the opportunity to go play at Michigan. And I'm thinking about him, I'm calling him I'm asking his uncles, like, "Hey, is he's okay? Do he need anything? Do you want to talk?" Trying to make sure that he has somebody he can talk to during this hard time, because it is a tough situation for a player that believe in the coach, abide by his rules and regulations, and then this situation happens. So I'm thinking about my nephew, making sure mentally that he's okay, because anybody can go left from a situation like that. So but again, like Coach said, a great school, great tradition. I know they're gonna bounce back. They're gonna figure the situation out. like when they had Harbaugh there, when they had the situation go through that. Things happen, but I feel sorry for those kids, but in the same time, they'll figure it out. And like you said, you playing against Texas. The last time we played, we won. I get to rubbing in with Jalen Rose, a couple of Michigan guys wouldn't. I know a couple of guys that went to Michigan, so try to have more fun with that and change the narrative to that. A big bowl game, a great history game going to Orlando. You want to just try to change that narrative the best way you can because, again, it's not the kids' fault. These kids want to play football, and their ultimate dream is to go to NFL. So the best way we can to help on both sides to, help them guys through that healing process, to go to Michigan and have fun with your teammates and try to take that narrative away that we had an okay season to make it to this bowl game to play one of the biggest schools in the country, University of Texas. So try to help those in any kind of way for that narrative to be great to go have a good time and play in a bowl game that they deserve.
And Bob, I'm sorry,
No,
but
you're good.
mental health
Yeah.
is really important to everybody in that building right now.
hmm
And we can't take that lightly because lives have changed. And I had a discussion with Sally the other night. I know Sharon Moore. I like him. I really hate this for him. And people say, well, he made awful mistakes. Well, we're never sure exactly all that happened until we're sitting in that house. Hate it for his wife, hate it for those 3 young girls, hate it for the young girl that's accused of being around him, hate it for the whole building. I've got a Chip Lindsey, the offensive coordinator, worked with us. He's a dear friend of mine. He's without a job. I mean, in one day he went without a job, and they call him in and say you're fired. The whole place is fired, and so it's just awful for everybody. And when I say I hate it for Sharon, well, somebody would say, well, it's his choice. We've all messed up. We have all messed up, and we've all made really poor decisions. Sometimes they're public, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they cost us a job, sometimes they don't. But everybody, these are all human beings that we're dealing with here. So thoughts and prayers to everybody at Michigan, those kids, those coaches, those family members, those staff members, and you've got to be pulling for them. Such a proud place to get everything back on track.
Yeah. Everybody's so easy to bash. Yeah, but the guy made a bad decision. But that don't mean basically just kill the man.
No.
What's in your closet?
Yeah.
What are the
what
are the skeletons in your closet?
Exactly.
Right?
No.
So I don't like it, and I'm seeing a lot of guys on their podcasts and on their shows is just like, yeah, he made the dumb mistake. Yeah, yes, he made a mistake, but that don't mean like bash him and bash him and bash him. Like he already got a handful of negative energy already.
Yeah, he's
So,
fired.
yeah, exactly.
That's enough.
He
That's
lost a
enough
dream
now.
job.
He lost a dream
pray
job.
for him. That's pray for him. That's be godly people and pray for him and pray to God that everything that him and his whole entire family can bounce back from that situation and move on from it. Because like Coach just said, that university is an outstanding school, man. Michigan has done a lot of things of saving and helping kids become to who they are today in life right now. So try to be like we saying, change the narrative of let's try to be more helpful than negative.
Yeah, one of the greatest times of my life was coaching against Michigan in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah,
Texas had never played
outstanding.
Michigan. We had never played in the Rose Bowl. It was
Yeah.
just such a wonderful moment. We had Coach Schembechler and Coach Royal out there for pregame. Like we said, Mickey Mouse flipped the coin. That's when you knew money was taking over. Got 2 of the best to ever do it. We got a
Mickey Mouse.
a mouse that's flipping the coin in
Mickey
the
Mouse
middle.
operation.
And then I was telling the guys on the Michigan podcast, Coach Schembechler said before the game, I said, you got a good team. We don't run the ball good enough. We're not tough. We're not tough. And I said, Lloyd, he said, yeah, stay away from Coach Schembechler. You don't want to be around him. But what a wonderful game. Pray for all you in Ann Arbor, and you will be back. And the game will be great, and the kids are going to play hard. And Chip has compared a young Bryce Underwood to Vince Young.
Yeah, he's
Vince got the red shirt. He got to watch. Bryce did not. But Bryce Young's one great player, so he's going to be fun for us to watch now.
Yeah.
6'5", he can run, he can throw, and all of it's ahead of him.
No doubt. And as Michigan moves forward and they try to find their next head coach, they might be rooting for Oklahoma to beat Alabama to see if possibly they could go get Kalen DeBoer, and then who knows where that's going to go from there. But again, that's all speculative. We'll see what happens. I know Alabama even released a statement
It's
trying to get ahead of it,
and OU still sucks.
And Bob,
I know who Vince is rooting for.
Yeah, and Vince, Bob just had the media come out at him too. Here,
Yes,
so we heard that speculation.
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 Don't want to get into speculation. But we're going to anyway. Okay. When we come back, more on the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Mack Brown's favorite segment, our underdog fantasy picks of the week, is coming up, and we'll look at Texas' schedule next year as they get a really cool SEC schedule, even though it's weird.
I look forward to talking about the schedule.
To the schedule and the college football playoff, and maybe not the underdogs of the week, but we're still going to do it when we come back. This is the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. We're back after this. Football season is in full swing, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action.
Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash.
This week on Underdog, I'm looking at 2 games, both college football playoff games. We'll start Saturday morning at Kyle Field and College Station. Let's go with Texas A&M wide receiver KC Concepcion to go higher than 58.5 yards receiving. Then we'll go out west to Eugene, Oregon. James Madison at Oregon. I think it's a big day for Oregon running back Noah Whittington. He's going to go higher than 87.5 yards rushing. Download the app today and use promo code STAMPEDE to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code STAMPEDE. Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 or older in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Time for the final segment of the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns alongside Vince Young and Mack Brown. I'm Bob Ballou. We appreciate you watching and listening. You can watch or listen anywhere you get your podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and always rate and review us at the Stampede UT anywhere on social media. Time for Mack Brown's favorite segment of the week. It's our Underdog Fantasy, Underdogs of the Week, presented by Underdog Fantasy. Last week, Mack, you're now a convenience store, 7-11 on the season after Blake Horvath did not go higher than 107.5 yards passing for Navy. You were pretty upset about it, right?
It is. It's fun. I'm sitting there pulling for Army because Jeff Monken, the Army coach, is a really good friend of mine. But Sally's sitting there with me, and I'm pulling for Horvath to throw for more than 107 yards. And she says, "Who are you pulling for?" I said, "I want Army to get ahead, so the Navy quarterback has to throw, so Army can win the game, but my Navy guy comes through and helps me." And it didn't work at all. She said, "You're a little crazy." But this week,
you got your guy.
A&M and Miami, KC Concepcion. We said he committed to us at North Carolina.
Say, you love him. So.
And then he went to NC State. So he's already beat me once. So now it's time to make up for it, KC. KC will be higher than 58.5 yards receiving this weekend in that great matchup between A&M and Miami.
It's going to be a beautiful day for some football, and I would imagine they will throw a bubble screen or two to KC Concepcion. So Max says he will go higher than 58.5 yards receiving for KC Concepcion, Texas A&M. Vince did not make his pick last week. Our producer Steve did. Vince falls to 12-5, but he's really 12-3 because Steve made that pick. I made one for you. Both those lost. You basically make all the winning picks. You had Damon Williams, Washington's quarterback, higher than 49.5 yards rushing. They got up big and basically were like, we're not going to run him and get him hurt. So Damon Williams was lower. So Vince technically loses and falls to 12-5 on the season, but still a great season for Vince. Vince, who are you going with this week?
Bob and Steve did that on purpose.
I could have picked and you would have just lost. It wouldn't have been on purpose.
I'm gonna stay with the Miami A&M game. I'm gonna go with Carson Peck higher, 237 yards and passing yards. So I think he's gonna be higher.
Big day for Carson.
You have to wake your butt up. It's an early game. Get up.
Yeah.
Get up.
At 11 a.m. kick as Miami and Texas A&M play the second game of the college football playoff. Vince is going to go with Carson Beck higher than 237.5 yards passing.
So I got to hope it's raining with 30-mile-an-hour winds, and you can only throw screens to KC.
Get that ball to Malachi Tony because he's going to do special things with it when he gets it. I'm going to go last week I had Dakota Rain Prescott, Dak Prescott, to go higher than 264.5 yards passing. In a home loss to Minnesota, he did accomplish that, so I am 11-6 on the season. This week, I'm going to go with Oregon running back Noah Whittington against James Madison. Noah to go higher than 87.5 yards rushing as Oregon tries to take down James Madison in the playoff. As always,
what a bold pick.
Yeah,
what a bold pick.
Hey, you guys could have taken an Oregon player.
No, Vince and I've got more pride than that.
They're about to kill James Madison.
I love it. As always, sign up with promo code Stampede to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. Underdog, make picks, win money. All right, let's move on to this. Let's do the college football playoff first. I want to get into the Texas schedule. It's a great way to end the show because it's a weird schedule again. But let's get into this college football playoff. Mac, Vince, what are you guys most excited to see this weekend?
Chicago Bears.
Come on, Vince.
And Green Bay Packers.
Come on, Vince. That will be a great game.
They're paying the playoff players and they're paying the Bears.
That's right.
So it's all NFL now. It's all pro football.
I would like to see OU take down Alabama. It's hard for me to do it, but
what?
Yeah,
I would have never
OU
thought
sucks,
that.
But our first year in the SEC, everybody's doubting us. We're not supposed to be there. Any Big 12 team. So anytime I see another Big 12 team playing a SEC team, I want them to win. So even though we're not, Texas and OU is not in the Big 12 anymore, but we still kind of represent it a little bit. So I would like to see OU beat. So
we'll see in that first game, Alabama ran them over, had 200 more yards than they did. But they turned the ball over 3 times, and against that Oklahoma defense especially, you can't turn it over. The Oklahoma offense has really struggled, so it'll be interesting to see if they can find something at home. But it'll Ty Simpson and those guys, they haven't been able to run it of late. They didn't look very good against Georgia. People really dogged them and said Notre Dame should have been over them. They've got a chance to prove it and go into Norman and win. Coach, what do you think?
I'm looking at A&M and Miami.
Yeah.
Miami finished strong, 4 straight wins, 27.5 points in every game. A&M struggled way behind 31 or something, 28 behind. South Carolina come back and win, then don't play well in the second half, and Texas dominates the second half. So Marcel Reed didn't finish like he wanted to. It's in College Station. If I'm them, I wish it was a night game because that place is rocking. It won't be as much at 11 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But I want to see A&M get back on track and see if their season was as good as we thought it was and they had a couple of rough ones at the end, or if they just weren't as good and got some hype and won a few games. Because Miami lost a couple early, but Miami's playing really well late. So to me, I'm going to sit and watch every play of that sucker because that's going to be a great ball game.
I'm with both you guys. I think those are the 2 games everybody's looking at this weekend. I think it'll be fun to see the other 2 games for a couple reasons. Number one, James Madison. There's an account on Twitter that's been hilarious talking about we did this and Oregon didn't do this. And it's basically like we beat, 9 Sun Belt teams this year and Oregon didn't beat any. So they're having fun with it. I don't know that they can stay with Oregon. The game I'm kind of interested to see is Tulane Ole Miss, only because what is Ole Miss reaction going to be without Lane Kiffin? How do those players respond? Can they do it in the way that you expect? And on top of that, this is a team that just blasted Tulane earlier this year. Sometimes that happens, and then a team figures a few things out. Ask Duke and Virginia. Virginia 2 weeks ago killed Duke, and then Duke beat them in the ACC title game. So
I always said it's hard to beat somebody twice.
Yeah.
And how much do you change? Now, the Tulane's coaching staff will be intact because
Right.
John Summerall is going to come back and coach, and the offensive coordinator is taking over as head coach. Ole Miss, the defensive coordinator, is taking over to be the head coach, so the kids are going to win for him and show Lane it wasn't just you. And to Lane Kiffin's credit and to the guys' credit, the whole offensive staff is coming back to
Right.
coach. So I would think that Ole Miss might have more motivation than they would if Lane was there, and they'd already beaten Tulane. Tulane's got to try to promote their new head coach and go, because if they lose, John will turn the job over to Will in the locker room, and he's already been a head coach at Southern Miss, so he's been there before. So I don't think the coaching changes will be as drastic in this one. Now, James Madison, same thing. Coach Chaney will be leaving there to go to UCLA and competing against Oregon. But it is interesting that at least right now, Alabama and OU don't have a change in coaching, and A&M and Miami don't have changes in coaching. But when you play a group of 5 in the playoffs and they're that good, probably their coach has been hired by somebody else. 28 head coaching changes in FBS this year. 28. And all of them before the bowl games. So that's pretty amazing, but it also shows what's going to happen in the future.
And it'll be interesting from Ole Miss's perspective, how many of those guys are already thinking about going with Lane to LSU? Are they worried about the portal, or are they focused on Tulane? And then for A&M, Colin Klein is going to call plays through the series, or through the playoff, but again, he's leaving for Kansas State, so does an offensive coordinator. Same thing at Oregon, their offensive and defensive coordinators. Does that stuff matter? And we're going to find, this is a very unique time in college football, and we're going to find out a lot of these things this weekend, what those things actually mean.
Yeah, well, think about Colin. He's hiring a staff, first time ever, at Kansas State. He's talking to all those players at Kansas State while he's getting a game plan ready for Miami. He's trying to get them to stay. He's negotiating with each one of them. He's also looking at the portal. He's trying to talk to the recruits, like Michigan just had a recruit that signed, and because the coach is leaving, he appealed to the university and got out of his scholarship and went to a school in the SEC. So those guys that signed, just because they signed anymore, doesn't mean they can't get back in the portal and leave if they appeal, because no school's going to say the coach has changed and we're going to keep you here. So Colin Klein is overloaded, man. Now, they've already promoted a receiver coach, I think, to coordinator.
Right.
So how much will he be involved in the game planning? And John Summerall. I like John Summerall. I've talked to him some. I like Colin, but he used to kick our tail, so I don't like him as much. And I saw him on the field before the Texas game, and he's about 6'6". He looks like Vince standing out there, and he looks like he can still play. But happy for him, and Bill Snyder will really help him, welcome him back. But if you look at all these other schools, Miami doesn't have any. They don't have any distractions. A&M's got distractions, and that could make a difference. The others, both coordinators at Oregon are gone, but they're still there. Yeah. I did that. I took the job at Tulane while I was offensive coordinator at Oklahoma and coached against Washington in the Orange Bowl. And it is a load, man. I used to try to be Oklahoma till 6 o'clock at night, and then after 6 o'clock, I was Tulane till about midnight. And it's just multitasking is hard, and it's hard to work for two people.
And that's why Nick Saban fired Lane Kiffin before the national championship game, because he said he
Absolutely.
can't do it. we tried it. He can't do it.
Yeah, it's why I let Gene Chizik go to Iowa State. I let Brian Harsin go to Arkansas State, and Major took over for the play calling. It's if you've got somebody who can do it on your staff, I'm 100% convinced that it's better. You got a new job. You can't do both. It's like I said, Dick Tomey was hiring staff members at San Jose while Michigan was returning kickoffs to about the 50-yard line. And
Steve Breston.
Yeah, Steve Breston. I'll never forget. Dick said, "Let's kick it out of bounds." They won't take it. They're going to make us kick it to him because we can't tackle him.
Every time.
Every time.
And we'll get to see the future of college football. If Tulane or James Madison upset one of these teams, does it change the way some people think about that G4, G5 team? But on top of it, because I think that's going to force the change, is having two G5 teams or G4 teams in this thing this year. But those teams we know cannot win 4 straight games. They're not going to. They may upset this weekend, and that's doubtful. But if they do, they're not going to win 4 straight games to win the national championship. So
all of us would rather see Texas at Oregon, and all of us would rather see Notre Dame at Ole Miss, 100%. And we'd be spending more time talking about those games.
No doubt. Okay, before we go, I want to get into the schedule, Vince. This is an interesting schedule for Texas. This year was such a weird. They were gone for 42 days from DKR, didn't play a home game. Obviously, that Texas OU game kind of throws something in the mix. Their first 8 games next year, 6 of them are at home, and 1 of them is OU. So there were only 1 true road game in that stretch, and that's at Tennessee September 26th, which will be the first time to Neyland Stadium ever, which I know every Texas fan is excited if you can get to Knoxville for that game next year.
Except Peyton Manning.
except Peyton Manning. Yeah, and you were saying you got to see a little bit of what Peyton was saying about Arch getting to go to Tennessee.
Yep, that'll be interesting, but blood's thicker than water.
Right.
Peyton will wear his orange, but he'll pull for Arch whether he says it or not.
Yeah.
He'll try to stay off TV that week.
100%. I know he'll do that. And then, of course, in November, they finished with 3 of 4 on the road as they go to Missouri, then LSU. First time they're going to Baton Rouge since 1953, and then finish at A&M. Vince, when you see all these games, it's kind of fun, like, to be a Texas fan right now, at Tennessee, at LSU, Ohio State at home. Like, this is a schedule that I think everybody expected and wanted when they moved to the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable to see that. I mean, I'm a kid like, man, I wish I was still playing. I would love to play LSU. I would have loved to go to Knoxville. It's just amazing that you got that we're, the University of Texas has the opportunity to play these schools because there's so much history with Tennessee. I would definitely be at that game because Big John Henderson and Abbott, Big Ainsworth.
Hell yeah.
Some Tennessee guys have been talking some crap for a long time, so they think they the real UT. So we're gonna see on that game. But overall, what an incredible schedule for them guys to to go out there and compete on a high level. And this is why you go to University of Texas. This is why the SEC is who it is. These are the games that you want to play, and I'm looking forward to this season. And we definitely got to beat that Ohio State game here at home. We definitely got to win that one.
And Mac, I know you're going to be excited about you get Texas State first. You don't have to open against Ohio State. I know that's something you talked about.
100%. And Ohio State, again, if do you continue to play the Ohio States and Michigans if it doesn't help you in the playoff?
Right.
That's going to be a one to watch again next year, and something for all coaches in the future. But I love Texas State at home, then Ohio State at home, and then you've got UTSA at home right after Ohio State, where you may be a little flat, and then you go to Tennessee. So Vince knows this, I used to cut the schedule up into 3 or 4 segments. So to me, the first schedule is Texas State, Ohio State, UTSA at home. Then let's go win at Tennessee. That season's over. Now you got a week off. It's a bye week, not a week off. And then you get ready for OU, but you've got OU at home. You've got OU in Dallas. You've got Florida at home, Ole Miss at home, Mississippi State at home. That's the next part of your schedule. That's a schedule by itself. Let's beat OU and then be strong at home. And then you've got to finish, and to get in the playoff and be good, you got to beat Missouri at Missouri, which isn't easy. You're a fan, obviously. You've got to beat LSU at LSU. Who knows what Lane's going to do, but with a transfer portal, he'll have a good roster by next year. You've got Arkansas coming here to Austin 2 years in a row, which I'm sure
first-year head coach.
First-year head coach shouldn't have a great squad either. But you're sitting here, Arkansas, saying, "Why do we go to Austin 2 years in a row? Who was this? This guy's not a fan." And then you go to A&M to finish. So that's the last part of the schedule to see if you're going to be a playoff team, championship team, or not. But I don't like the all at home, all away.
Yeah.
I don't know why that happens, and I'm not sure how they do the scheduling. But I do like Ohio State being after Texas State, where you have a chance to play at home. Fans they'll have their practice to get ready, and then Ohio State will be as big a game here as it was up there last year, and fun for all of us.
It's gonna be a fun schedule. I think this is, like I said, it's what Texas fans wanted when you moved to the SEC. Some of those games in the Big 12, they were hard. Not knocking Manhattan or Ames or whatever in terms of how hard it was to go win there, but to go to some of these iconic destinations that Texas has never played at Neyland, and gets a chance to go to Baton Rouge for the first time since 1953. Would have done it in 2020, but COVID knocked that game out. But
I was 2, so I didn't see the game. I don't remember. I
wasn't going to ask.
Yeah, I knew you weren't, but you were Vince. One were going to be a smart aleck, so I said I was born in 51, so I was 2. I sat and listened to the game, but I didn't watch it.
Sure, of course. Well, that'll be fun, and as always, everything that this college football playoff's going to be fun to watch this weekend. We're all excited for everything that's going to that. All right, guys, thank you as always, Vince, Mac. You guys are awesome. Great stuff this week. Appreciate you guys.
Baby.
You know it. That's Vince Young. He's Mac Brown. I'm Bob Ballou. We always appreciate you watching and listening to The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. We'll see you next week.